in front.
There's two in the back that are hiding. Everybody say. They're not crying.
Okay, look up here.
Okay, you got Diana over here. Come on now, let's make sure we can see.
Yeah, look this way. Hey, if I point at somebody, I don't need 40 of you looking at that way, okay? You look here, okay? Look this way. Up this way.
They thought it'd be appropriate if I talk. Why isn't Sandy Turner talking? Or Ken Corkian? Or Joanne Bliss? She never stopped talking. And then I thought, heck, let's have somebody talk who always wants to get up in front of the crowd and make a fool out of themselves. Let's have Joanne Ewan talk. And then I realized that Paula probably called me because she knew I didn't drink much anymore, and she figured I'd be the only one that wasn't drunk by about now, and I'd be able to talk without falling over. So the rest of you can sit. If you fall over, that's fine, because this is going to be pretty boring. So when she said 20-year reunion, I said, man, that sounds like a gosh for an awful long time. My first thought when I got noticed the reunion was, where's all the time gone? And I'm sure you thought that too. But after that, I also thought, I can't even remember high school. And I don't know if that feels like that with you guys too. So what do you think 20 years means to us? The bicentennial graduating class of 1976. The brightest, the boldest, the smartest, the best looking. That was us. I mean, basically all it means now is that there's a heck of a lot of difference between 18 and 38. 18, if you remember, is the time when everything's possible. First times are all yet to come, at least for some of us they were. For Mike Harmon, I think he had a first time many times. You know, the thoughts of turning 40 were not just around the corner, they were in another universe. Yeah. So in 1976, what being 18 years old meant to me was that if I could get $4 an hour for doing something, that sounded like an awful lot of money. It meant that I had to have a car with bench seats so my best girl could sit right up there next to me where she belonged. And it meant that it was 3 more years before I could buy a real beer without borrowing my older brother's ID. If you remember, 76 was a centennial year for the state of Colorado. It was a bicentennial year for the country. I think the Statue of Liberty may have been remodeled in New York Harbor, may not have been. Jack Nicholson won an Oscar for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, if you remember that. It seemed pretty appropriate for our class, I think. Alex Haley's Roots was top of the bestseller list, and Jim Henson's Muppets debuted on national TV, if you remember the Muppets. Robert De Niro was in Taxi Driver, if anybody saw that movie. Nadia Comaneci won 3 gold medals in the Olympics in Montreal. And my idol and hero, Bjorn Borg, won his first of 5 Wimbledon singles titles. You know, I didn't realize that Bjorn Borg was also Ken Corkian's idol, because Ken's wearing Bjorn's jersey. In 1976 was the first case of Legionnaire's disease broke out in Philadelphia. We'd never heard of AIDS. The U.S. Viking spaceship was first to land on Mars. Jimmy Carter won the presidential election in '76, and Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run, was top album. Somebody ran for a record 23 touchdowns in 1976 for the Buffalo Bills. He doesn't do that anymore. And Martina Navratilova defected to the U.S. from Czechoslovakia. Early in '77, the first Apple personal computers went on the market. John Travolta discoed his way to fame and fortune. Saturday Night Fever and George Lucas' Star Wars film was the top box office draw. And the king died, Elvis, late in '76, got 26 died. There were, in 1976, no VCRs, no cable or satellite TV, no mouses, no modems, no cell phones, no faxes. Right? No ad rollers, no health riders. I got a neighbor that bought a health rider, she calls it the Spaz-O-Matic. There were no actors that became presidents, and no presidents that played saxophone. There were no Acuras, no Camrys, no Infinities. Cars were just American or not American. And God help me if you drove a non-American car. 76 was a simpler, safer world than we lived in 1996. Our morning papers weren't filled with stories of drive-by shootings in our own neighborhoods, bombings at the federal building in Oklahoma, or at the World Trade Center in New York, or at the Olympics in Atlanta, or on TWA flights. People didn't die in 76. It was a time for all of us, I think, of relative innocence. We were unaware of our futures might hold, whether it be success or failure, joy or sadness, tragedy or triumph. 76, how could I have known that my best friends impacted, killed? And my best girl, Alicia, killed with their spouses. You know, I could write this and then go out and see them. I miss them both a lot. But my old buddy Brad Short would barely escape an avalanche of his life just 4 years ago. On the other side of the coin, how could I have known that when she met my brother Greg in a bar at Fort Collins in 1982 while attending the same optometry school in Southern California with me, that my future wife Julie would someday become the mother of my wonderful 21-month-old son, whether we'd be looking forward to the rock or a second. This one. In 1976, we couldn't see our futures, and just as well, I think. Because I'd be willing to argue that not many 20-year high school reunion gatherers have seen so many dramatic changes in the world in which we live. The rate of change in the fabric of our society over the past 20 years has been nothing short of phenomenal. Just when you think you figured out your VCR, they come out with VCR Plus automatic programming. Just when you figured out the difference between the F9 and the F9 keys on your computer, they gave you a mouse and you push it and click it. And each of us, I'm sure, can think of hundreds of innovations, societal changes, personal attitude shifts, and even world order shuffling that we've endured. And the rate of our change of our lives, the change in our lives, is not likely to slow down either. It can at times become almost overwhelming to live in the 90s. Our immediate families are more scattered than ever. Our sports figures make over $5 million a year and complain they're underpaid. Too many of America's children still suffer from malnutrition, neglect, overcrowded classrooms, and fear of rather than hope for the future. I don't know about you, but I don't think of these things often. I suppose a 20-year reunion can tend to alter one's perceptions of life. A single decade is a long time, and it's been 2 decades since Canyon High produced the terrific class of 1976, a class of over 200 full of promise, potential, and possibilities. We all had hopes, our plans, and our dreams. So 20 years later, we get back together to see who's doing what, where, with whom. And you know, that's not all we're doing, you guys. We're also comparing ourselves with our classmates, aren't we? Thinking or perhaps even saying things out loud like, wow, that Brendel kid is even more goofy looking than he was in high school. Or gosh, she's been divorced twice already, and number 3 doesn't look very promising either. And you're thinking, boy, I'd sure turn out a lot better than those 2. But if my opinion makes any difference, I think it's very natural and normal to have these thoughts. Heck, I'm probably doing them right myself at this moment while I'm looking at all of you, and you're just wishing I'd wrap up and bring on the band. Unfortunately for you guys tonight, it's no different than homeroom back in 1976, and we were doing announcements in the morning over the intercom, and the microphone was in my hand, or Sandy Turner's hand. And you guys had no choice but to sit there and listen to us tell the whole student body exactly when the cheerleaders were supposed to meet on the front steps for their photo shoot, or their cafeteria lunch would be macaroni, stewed tomatoes, or peach cobbler. So just sit back a few more minutes, and then we'll really be able to put ourselves with the band. So I believe the class of 1976 is gathered here to do much more than talk about our cars, our boats, or where we go on vacation. I think we're looking closely at each other to see what we become. And if we can catch a glimpse of the promise we represented just shining through us here and there, our hope for the future brightens just a bit. Don't you think so too? I had the opportunity this past week to have my own vision for a brighter future rekindled by an act of courage right in my hometown, Roseville, California. It was 7 a.m. last Sunday morning. Some neighbors smelled smoke and saw fire coming out of a house owned by an elderly gentleman confined by a wheelchair. The smoke was so thick the neighbors couldn't find a way into the house to see if anyone was inside. They could only stand back and watch the house burn, hoping and praying that no one was trapped inside. Just then, a young man new to the neighborhood drove up, home from his morning round delivering papers. He stopped to see what was happening just as he got out of his truck. He heard a man call out from inside the burning house. Immediately, while all the other neighbors watched, he runs up to the front door, breaks it open, and disappears straight into a wall of smoke. He emerges 10 seconds later, pushing the elderly man in his wheelchair, who was badly burned but very much alive. The wheelchair was difficult to maneuver because the rubber tires had melted in the fire. So he was kind of half rolling and dragging it on the porch. Two neighbors ran up to help lift the man in his chair down to the front yard and wheel him away from the house, which was nearly engulfed in flames by now. But this time the TV van had rolled up, and a reporter jumped out, came up to the delivery guy, and asked if he'd been inside the house, asked if any of the people were still inside. The guy was shaking like a leaf, kind of like I am right now. The realization of what he'd just done hit him, the risk he'd taken with his own life, to save the life of someone he didn't know, dawned on him. He started nervously wiping the windshield of his truck with a handkerchief over and over again, as he told the reporter what happened. Neighbors gathered around him to congratulate him, but he was obviously embarrassed, probably like I am now. Quickly excused himself, saying he needed to get home. Soon his wife began to worry and he drove off. He didn't stay. For the newspapers to take his picture with the burned wheelchair guy, he didn't pose for the TV cameras to record him pushing the wheelchair across the lawn. His singed hair and his eyebrows black as soot. He went home to his family. Kind of reminded me of the movie Hero. A couple years back, I think, starring Daniel Garcia and Gina Davis, if anybody saw it. I'll bet you're wondering why I took the time to tell you about this story. Not that it's a good story, I know, but what does it have to do with our 20-year reunion? Just this. I believe that people like Shaquille O'Neal and Michael Jordan are not real heroes. They're just talented athletes. Michael Johnson, the guy that won the 200 and the 400 in the Olympics, he's not a hero either, but he can run. Or the true worth of each and every one of us here tonight has nothing whatsoever to do with how much money we make, what kind of car we drive, what school our kids go to, or what clothes we wear. We, each of us, have the opportunities for heroism placed right in front of us nearly every day of our very ordinary lives. Because a true hero is an ordinary person just like you, or like me. Who has the courage to do what's right in any situation we find ourselves, rather than doing what's easier or least difficult. A real hero, I think, is a mom who keeps her cool when her 2-year-old throws a tantrum. Because she understands that he's just as scared, and he's angry, and he can't control it. She calms her kid with love and reassurance, and does it all with grace, and sometimes even with a sense of humor. That's a hero. Here's another one. How about the convenience store clerk that lets a husband into a store after locking him for the night so he can buy some ice cream and pickles for his pregnant wife? I'm sure you can come up with some others. These are Heroic acts of inobtrusive yet vitally important. They're the underpinnings of what's weakened our society, and we need more of them. I believe real heroes walk amongst us daily. There's some right here in this room, and we probably won't be able to tell over this weekend who they might be. It's an outpost. You guys, it's been 20 years since high school. Maybe you didn't go to college, become a rocket scientist. I didn't even talk to Dave Boxley when I wrote that. Or heal the sick of Calcutta with Mother Teresa. Maybe you haven't done much at all worth bragging about your old classmates, but I've got great news for you. It's never too late to be a hero. It's never too late to hug your kid after you screwed up. Never too late to make him understand and you can approve of his behavior, but you'll always approve and love him. It's never too late to treat your coworkers with fairness and generosity. Never too late to visit your dad in a nursing home just to talk for no special reason. So I don't think it's ever too late, class of 76, to be a hero. How heroic have your last 20 years been? Think about it for a moment, because the hero business doesn't care how much money you make in the car you drive or what house you own. In 20 more years, you'll be 58. What kind of life are you going to live these next 20 years? Are you just trying to make enough money so you can retire at 58? Or are you just climbing over anybody you can, trying to get to the top of the corporate ladder, wherever it is? Or have you just given up? And now you spend much of your days in front of the TV with a remote in one hand and a beer in the other. Class of 76. It's never too late. And in 1996, the world we live in is desperately in need of a few more acts of heroism, a few more acts of random kindness, and lots more acts of anonymous charity. Okay, we're going to bang.